Coping with Tre Tailor, giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life, because we'll always be coping with something. Coping. Hey there, thank you so much for joining us on Coping. I'm Tre Tailor, and we are giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life because, we'll always be coping with something. Today, we're coping with such a time as this. Reverend Dr. Aaron Bishop's brand new book. Thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you, Tre. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to come right back with Dr. Aaron Bishop and talk about his new book, what it's all about, and when we can pick it up. But first, don't forget, check the bottom of the screen throughout the show. You will see scrolling information on vaccines, community events, job listings, plus financial resources, including scholarships, help with your rent, mortgage, bills, and so much more. All of that scrolling at the bottom of the screen. We want you to please post, share, like, and follow. We are streaming on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube because we want to get the message to the masses. Today, the message is we are coping with a new book by Reverend Dr. Aaron Bishop. It's called For Such a Time as This. It's going to launch this month in just a couple of weeks, with pre-orders actually being accepted now on the bishopspeaks.com website and on Amazon. Again, Aaron, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And again, congratulations.
Thank you so much, Tre. And always a pleasure to come and talk about relevant and real information with your show. Thank you for what you do.
Oh, thank you so much. So listen, you're a pastor, recently received your doctorate, public servant, chaplain for the Richland County Sheriff's Department. What are these times that you write about and speak about?
Well, great question, Tre. And, let's get right into it. When we look at some of the challenges and opportunities in our community, our society, and our world, it is a time, it is for such a time as this that we need transformational leadership. And that's what this book is about. This book is 3 years in the making of studying what does the faith leader, the elected official, the business owner, and the educator do to work together, because it takes a village to raise a child, right?
Yeah.
But who is raising the village? So we have to understand that the village must be raised to a level of leadership, but just not any leadership. It needs to be transformational leadership, and this book is all about that.
Yeah. So you say this guide is a guide to those leaders in business, education, politics, and faith, and it helps them do what, Aaron?
So, as I said, we're trying to raise the village. And when we look at raising the village, it's time for us to step up to the challenges and change them to opportunities. And so this book is a play on words, because if you are, of the faith walk or from any church, you probably heard your preacher quote the story of Esther and her uncle Mordecai, where Mordecai tells Esther, who knows that you have been called to the kingdom for such a time as this. And what's so beautiful about that book of Esther is that it talks about the power of God without mentioning the power of God.
Yeah.
And, that's what I love about that book. And that particular scripture was, assigned and associated with my call as a pastor some 15 years ago. And it just wasn't a call to the pulpit, but it was a call to the people. And that means even outside the wall, I had to literally stand in those 4 sectors of being a pastor or a faith leader, had to be elected official as a Richland 1 school board of commissioners, around a business or 2, so I knew what business was, and most of all, I'm in the field of education. So all 4 of those sectors were part of my dissertation. And when I began to do that study, Tre, the study of a dissertation for a PhD is so dense. No one wants to read the stats and the quotes, the 5 chapters of just lengthy, philosophy. And I said, what could I do just to make this more digestible for the everyday leader who is literally in those 4 sectors, to say, what can I do to build partnership through transformational leadership? And I can talk all day about it, Trey, but I think this is a challenge because the church often does things in isolation. The business community does it in isolation. The educators and the schools do it in isolation, and then the politicians are in isolation. We need to find a way to come to the table and build those partnerships that impact the lives of everyone in our community. So that's raising the village.
Yeah, we're coping with a new book by Reverend Dr. Aaron Bishop for such a time as this. It's launching this month. Pre-orders are being accepted now. Visit www.bishopspeaks.com and Amazon. You see the information on the screen. You talk about learning how to adapt, transform, stay ahead, and you just mentioned building those partnerships. How do you do that, Aaron?
Well, the first thing we must understand is who we are, and that's the chapter 1. And again, I reference the book of Esther, but I don't want anyone to think this is going to be a Bible study and you can see a lot of scriptures through this book. You're going to see leadership principles and real and relevant practical steps towards you being a better leader. And even if you're not a leader, if you're a thinker, an implementer, or just a person who wants to see a stronger impact on what you do in life, this book starts off with step 1, which is become aware. You know, Trey, on your show, we've talked about emotional intelligence, right?
Yeah.
Being in a position where you are aware of how you feel. And how can you see change externally if you don't see change internally?
Internally, yeah.
Internally, you have to become aware of the agency of who you are, because the agency and the control of how you channel your emotions to deal with people and work with people may be the barrier that prevents you from being a partner. And so once you get your own self out of the way, then you can sit at the table and work with people.
Yeah.
One of the biggest quotes, and you got to hear this, Trey, when you cannot produce results in isolation, the only remedy is to do mass collaboration.
Wow.
We've been through the pandemic, right, Trey? And you know how we got out of it? It wasn't the church doing things by themselves.
Right,
It wasn't education doing it by themselves. It wasn't politicians doing it by themselves or businesses. It was everybody, including the healthcare industry, you with your podcast, doing mass collaboration to bring us out of that challenge.
Absolutely.
And some of our challenges requires collaboration and partnership, and that's what this book is about for such a time as this.
I'm glad you mentioned the personal growth piece, because that was going to be my next question. Because you're right, you can't work with anybody unless you can work with yourself. Working with somebody else starts with you. You're the somebody else you need to work with first. How do you start and stay motivated? How do you start? Because personal growth is a thing. It's a big thing.
Yeah. I do this segment or this training on snake lines. I know you're probably like, wait, unpack that, right?
Please.
So it comes from me teaching people who are parents or leaders, who have people who are subordinate to you or depend on your leadership. Like my son depends on me as a father.
Right.
And I have to become dependable with credibility as a leader to him.
Ooh, yeah.
And the only way you get credibility sometimes is some people have to see what you are.
That's right.
And as a member of the 100 Black Men, we bring credibility in front of young Black men because our quote says, they will become what they see. So as they see men, they become men. So let me break that down to the Snake Mountain. On a mountain, there's a line where if you get to a certain elevation, a snake cannot breathe anymore. But everyone can't get to the snake line unless they go to the valley experience. And so when you start in your valley and you begin to develop and work through your own emotions and climb your own mountain, some point in time, you may be the snake in your life where you have negative talk or negative self-talk, or you reduce yourself, or you deal with what I put in this book, the imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome. We talk about that. You and I talked about that.
And so in climbing your mountain, people will see you evolve and get over your own challenges, and you begin to breathe a different air, and you become that rare leader that people want you to be. Because at the top of the mountain, where you get past the Snake Mountain, air is rare, and you are becoming a rare leader the higher you go in elevation in your company, in your organization, in your community, and even in your family. And so when I talk about this mountain experience, I also talk about the fact that we don't allow people to see us move our mountains. You know how the church says if you had the faith the size of a mustard seed,
Yeah.
you can move mountains? Well, I let my son see me move the mountains. I let him see me do the hard work. I take him places with me. So when he asks for those $200 pair of shoes, he doesn't believe that money grew on a tree. It grew out of
Right.
hard work.
Right. Right.
And so as we are all going through our own personal development of self-awareness as a leader and going uh, to battle with imposter syndrome, be very transparent and let people see what work you put in to become who you are. And then when you do that, you'll earn your seat at the table. And if not, you'll build the table for other people to sit at.
Yeah, and people will respect you more. They will see that you are human just like them. They will see that you have flaws, and you can overcome the flaw. And like you said with Peyton, your son, they can then see if he can do it, I can do it too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what's needed, right?
Yeah.
Trey?
That's leadership. That's
Yeah,
leadership.
we
Leadership.
need-
And go ahead. No, because I'm thinking leadership isn't perfection. Leadership isn't perfection, but it
No.
is honesty.
Yeah, it is. And people want to see the bumps, the scrapes, the
Yeah.
bruises, the wounds of leadership because people want to see your story. Why do you think we got all these social media postings? People want to see your life. They want to be able to see things through transparency.
Yeah.
And so in the beginning of this book, I'm very transparent about some of the moments I went through to become this transformational leader. And you know what? I had to see someone who was that person,
Right.
who made me become what I saw.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm so proud of this project. I mean, if it wasn't mine, I would buy it. Right?
The book is called For Such a Time as This. It's launching this month. You can see the information on the screen where you can get it pre-order on Amazon, bishopspeaks.com. You know, while you were talking, I was thinking about a book and quote years ago from Ayanna Van Zant. There's value in the valley.
Whew, yes, I got that on my Kindle.
There's value in the valley.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And you know, the truth is, water does not run uphill; it runs
Right.
downhill. And you know, this book even talks about restorative practices. When you look at the dew that descends from a mountain to water the valley and the growth that happens there, you may be in your lowest moment, but I still believe, like this book, you was called to an assignment for such a time as this.
Yeah.
That someone wants you to be their leader. So sometimes you got to grow through it by going through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, that's the beauty in the valley.
You know, you said something that spurred something in me just now. Someone wants you to be their leader. So this, and you talked about, you know, whether you're in education, politics, faith, we look at those leaders, but leaders are also parents, grandparents, aunties, uncles. They're also managers of a fast food store. You don't have to be what people perceive as up here to be a leader. You are a leader in your own circle.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes that circle, like in this book, it's about who you become associated with. So
Yes.
I tell people become aware, and then also in one chapter, I tell people to become associated with the right people. You know, leaders need leaders.
Yeah, that's so important.
We do. We need someone who's bold enough to tell us in our own space and grace the truth about who we are.
Yeah.
And I have those friends. I have those people who don't mind telling me, hey, you know, you need to tighten up, or you know, maybe you can do something better. And that goes back to what I previously stated, those restorative practices. When we restore each other instead of destroying each other, it builds our community. We need leaders to understand that sometimes you can lead and sometimes you can follow just someone else's advice on how you can become better. I sit down with a group of men who got a little more gray hair than me, who's been through a few challenges, but they also are leaders. And when we break bread, we also build each other up. While we're breaking down situations, we also are building up opportunities. And that's critical. We need to associate ourselves with the people who can help us become better. And
Awesome.
that's in this book.
I love restore, don't destroy. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, we need more of that, Trey.
we do. We do.
Because
We do.
let's talk about coping with Tre Tailor. There are a lot of people who are still dealing with the impact of trauma
Absolutely.
that has brought on a level of complexities in their life that they aren't able to discuss their pain or share their anxiety or share their frustration. And when I talk about becoming agitated in this book, the emotional intelligence that is in chapter 1 comes to a position where, as you become the leader that people need, you'll find yourself becoming agitated, but you can't get angry about something you just don't agree with. My dad told me this a long time ago, Trey. He said, son, if you can complain, you can contribute.
Yeah.
And so when we constantly destroy each other, destroy our leaders, we're just complaining. But if we want to restore the leaders, we will contribute. We'll come to them and say, hey, brother, I'm a leader just like you.
Yeah.
And I think you made a false step or I think you made a bad decision. But how can I help you become a better leader?
Yeah, I love that because that's how we progress. That's how we grow. That's how we can get things done, not by sitting at the house eating potato chips in a rocking chair complaining about it. That does nothing. You have contributed nothing. Nothing.
Yeah. And what's the quote, Trey? We need more people, right? we need more leaders. There are a lot of leaders right now because they've been destroyed by how people tear them down for being that leader, or we tear down our own businesses. And think about how quickly they are burning out because no one is restoring them.
Yeah.
And we got to look at that. That deteriorates our community. But if you are a transformational leader, you will change that challenge into an opportunity. And the more we develop those type of leaders, which is something me and my wife are taking on, because with this book coming out, we're looking to do two things, Trey. We're looking to, one, create a leadership podcast that constantly builds up leaders.
I love it.
In this pathway of being transformational leaders in your community. But we're also looking to have those kneecap to kneecap trainings where we will bring in a faith leader, a business leader, an educator, and a business leader, put them at the table in their own zip code and teach them transformational leadership, teach them partnership so they can live as they climb and build their communities back up.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Aaron Bishop has been talking to us about his new book, For Such a Time as This. Tell us about some of the ways people can connect with you, Aaron, get the book, meet and greet you, get an autograph, and everything else.
Thank you, Trey. You can go to bishopspeaks.com and look up this book along with several other books that we have. You can find For Such a Time as This under the store, the online store on bishopspeaks.com. You can come and follow me on my Facebook, Aaron Bishop, and that's Dr. Aaron Bishop. And I got several links out there. Or you can take advantage of June 23rd. We'll be at the Starbucks by Providence Hospital. I think it's 25 09 Forest Drive. That's right. We're going to be in Starbucks, and I'll be in there signing books and allowing people to purchase books in person. And maybe to answer some questions, and we can talk, like me and Trey, about some of the things that we need to do for our community.
That's awesome. Go to bishopspeaks.com and Amazon. Were you going to say something else? I'm sorry.
And it's going to be from 5:30 to 7 p.m. 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. on June 23rd. Just want to make sure everybody got that.
So go by there, and from 5:30 to 7:30, Aaron will be there with his book, and meet and greet with him, purchase the book, get a signed copy of it, and find out more information about the seminars, workshops, and leadership trainings that he and his wife, Jennifer, will do. Go to bishopspeaks.com. Aaron, as always, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Super excited about the book and everything that you and Jennifer are going to do in conjunction with the book. We need leadership guidance to be good leaders, regardless of what that leadership looks like in our lives. And this is such a great resource because, like you said, leaders need leaders. People need guidance and advice and information in order to succeed and excel. So this is a great resource for that. So thank you so much for all that you guys do in the community, but particularly for the book in times like these. Aaron Bishop, thank you so much, friend. I appreciate you. All right. You can see the information on the screen once again to connect with Aaron Bishop and his amazing new book. Please go to the website and check it out. Hey, check this out. We'll be right back with more, including your inspirational moment next on Coping. I'm Tre Tailor.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday lives. But when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer running slow? Won't turn on? Do you need a screen replaced? Or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821.
Hey there. Thank you so much for joining us on Coping. I'm Tre Tailor. We're giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life because we will always be coping with something. Hey, before I leave, I want to share this devotional with you. This is from Conversations with God. It's from Cheryl Mims Williams with Agape Counseling and Training Services in Columbia, South Carolina. This is such a great book. It includes some of her prayers, some of her diary readings, and devotionals. This one says, "Trust me, my child. I know you're having a hard time praying, studying, and focusing on me. I know you don't like the way this feels. You can't rely on your feelings." That's good. This is about knowing, being faithful, and holding on. Knowing even if you don't feel or see it. Isn't that such a wonderful reminder that God is with us always, even if we don't feel it, see it, or hear it? We've got to know it. That's what faith is all about. It's from Cheryl Mims Williams from Agape Counseling and Training Services. This is called Conversations with God. I'm Tre Tailor. Thank you so much for joining us on Coping. We're giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life because we will always be coping with something. The good thing about it is that we're never alone. Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Coping, find peace of mind to survive through whatever. Coping, learning the way that we thrive all together. Coping, finding out what's real. Coping, we can heal, we can heal, we can heal. Coping with stress, coping with strife, bringing hope for success, for improving our life. Coping beyond hoping to do more than survive. Ways to live a healthy life. Coping and promoting, learning what you can do. 6 ways to a better you. Coping, find peace of mind to survive through whatever.